Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you again with another Jewelry with Jen tutorial. And I am in a mode of giving you ways to make different, pretty, very easy, simple, quick to make things that you can wear throughout the spring and summer months, if that's where you are in the seasons right now. And I wanted to do one that I thought would be really pretty with some mother of pearl shells, because that's where I am right now, is with mother of pearl and shells and things like that. So we're going to be using some shell beads to make a nice wire wrapped bracelet with really pretty links, large links. And it's really easy to make, it's easy to wear, it fits any size, and we're going to be making our own clasp that incorporates the beads in the clasp. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be very quick project. It's not hard, it's not difficult. You're going to use your usual tools, round nose pliers, square nose pliers, cutters, and you're going to need some kind of a cylindrical item to make your loops, because they're going to be beyond the normal size. So what I'm using today is a pencil. You can use a pencil, a big pen. It just depends on the size loops that you want. You can use a Sharpie if you want really large loops. And I really wanted to play around with loop size, and today is the day that we're going to do it. I think I did it not for this video, but not for this one, but I've done it in another video, and I really like incorporating the wire as a different element. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's get down here to the other camera and get started and have some fun. So here's what we're working with. I've got these lovely, just abnormal shaped mother of pearl beads. They're really iridescent and really quite brilliant. I really love the way they look. I've got all different colors. And so those of you with kits that get kits, you're going to get a selection, or you're going to get, they're going to be different shades of beads. I've also got these kind of iridescent seed beads that I'm using. I just wanted to add something extra to it. Instead of just doing links or jump rings, I wanted to add some kind of a bead that kind of went with the shells, and these iridescent jump rings just did the trick. They're quite perfect to go with this. I think it looks a little blurry. Let's see if I can clear that up a little bit. That's better. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. We've done this little trick in the past where we add a bead to our ring, around the outside of the ring, and we're going to do that. And you can decide whether or not you want to wrap your beads in some wire. I'm going to direct you as to how you can do that. If you want to add some wire to your beads, or you can just let the beads speak for themselves and not add any additional embellishment. This is going to be up to you, another free former. It's going to have some basics that you need to follow, but for the most part, how you finish it is going to be your baby. So let's get going. So first we're going to be using 20 gauge wire, seed beads, and whatever other kind of beads you want to use. That's it. It's wire and beads. That's the whole 9 yards behind this. So let's get going. It's a little blurry. Okay, so what I'm going to do is leave my wire on the spool, but for each of these components right here, each of these little links, I would suggest, if you're using this kind of bead, let's see what size this is. Oh, and you need a ruler, by the way, so that you can measure. So this little bead right here is approximately, let's see, 6, 7, 8, 10. about 10 millimeters of length. Make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm looking on the wrong side. Let's look at the millimeters, Virginia. So it's 10, 15 millimeters. It's pretty big. So this is a 15 millimeter across or length bead. The width, of course, is different. And what I'm going to be using, I've already measured it out in order to get this nice sized loop and the wire through the bead and the wrapping that goes with the bead for the 2 loops, the large one and the small loop, as well as the wrapping around the bead. It takes about at least 4 to 5 inches for a 15 millimeter bead. So needless to say, it's not going to take that much if you use smaller beads. But because I'm using this size bead, I would suggest that you not go, I would actually say 4.5 to 5 inches for this size bead. If you're using a smaller bead, adjust accordingly so that you don't waste too much wire. And that is the reason why I say it's a good reason, it's a good idea to leave it on your spool. If you're getting a kit, you'll have a long length of wire. I just wouldn't cut it up. I would just leave it as it is and make your links while the wire is attached until you have to cut it off. Okay, so there's that. So what I'm going to do is string on one of my beads, and then I'm going to give my, oh, no, wrong. Step 1 is to make my loop. So I'm going to take my pencil and oh, you do need to string on your bead. Yeah, string on your bead. Just let it fall where it may. You don't need it right now, but you do want it on the wire so that you don't have to cut. Now give yourself a good inch of wire because you're going to use that. I'm going to show you how to just kind of thread it over your bead so you have a little bit of embellishment. So you want to have a good inch or so in order to do that with 15 millimeters here. And 15 millimeters in inches is almost, let's see here, almost 3/8 of an inch. So a little less than a half, a little more than a quarter. So you want to give yourself a good inch of wire. Then that way it can thread over that 3/8 of an inch of bead and still wrap around the other loop. Okay, so for starters, we're going to make our large loop. I'm going to give myself a good inch of wire on the end that I'm not going to be bothering right now. And then I'm going to wrap my wire around my pencil in this case, or whatever the cylindrical item is that you're using. Just going to wrap it around. Again, this is 20 gauge wire until I have the wires crossing over each other like that. So that's my start. And then I'm going to put a couple of seed beads on. And I'm using these iridescent blue beads that kind of go with they're kind of turquoise, between a turquoise and a sea blue. And they go really nicely with my mother of pearl beads. So I slide 2 of those on my loop. And then I'm going to go right here where my wires are crossed. I'm going to take my flat pliers and hold on to my wire. And I'm going to straighten this long edge of wires, the one that's attached to my spool. I'm going to straighten it out, just bend it straight down like that. So now that wire looks like if it was coming from the top, it would go straight up through the middle of my loop. So now I'm going to grasp my wire And I'm going to wrap this short tail of wire around one time and one time only. And I'm going to bring my bead up. And you can see how I have enough wire to bring it up over the bead after I make my second loop. Now, the reason I said that at some point you're going to have to cut this is because we need to make another loop. And I want to give myself a good, this right here is probably about 3/4 of an inch with the wrap, and then this inch. So I've got 1 3/4, and I need at least another 2 inches. So we'll say that's 2 inches, give myself 2 more inches in order to complete the rest of what I want to do. Where are my inches? There we go. I'm going to give myself 2 more inches just beyond my bead. And now I can cut it off. So now I need to make another loop. This is going to be my small loop, and I want it to go in the opposite direction of my large loop. So this loop, the large loop, is going that way, and I want my small loop to go this way. So it's kind of going, you'll see the wire, looks like it's going across the circle here. So what I'm going to do is bend my wire back. Like that. So you can see, let's see, if my wire, if the bead wasn't there, you'd be able to see that this wire is going straight in the direction where it would be going through the circle if there wasn't a bead there. So see that? Okay. So now I want to make a small loop. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to slide those in. I'm going to take it down to about 1/3 of the way down my pliers. It doesn't need to be a very large loop. And then I'm going to bring that long tail of wire over my pliers and down the other side of the bead. And then I'm going to turn my pliers so that they're perpendicular to the bead, kind of on top of it. And I'm going to bring that wire all the way around under my pliers and over my bead. So now I have a loop. And now you can see that this wire would go through this loop into the top. So now I want to bring this short tail of wire up and wrap it around this stem. So I'm just going to bend it up over my bead and just wrap it around one time, because all I want to do is secure it. And I have just enough to do that. And just wrap it around. And then that little tail there, you can push it down until it rests against the stem of my wire, like so. So it just wraps around. You can see that. There we go. I'm just going to secure that a little bit tighter. There. And so now I'm going to take the long edge of wire That's extending from my small loop, and I'm going to wrap that around the stem. I grab it with my pliers, wrap that around my wire. And because this is an odd shaped bead, don't worry about the wire hugging it too closely. It's more of a little cage or a frame. Trying to get this to focus and it doesn't want to. See how that's a little, kind of a little frame around my bead. So I've wrapped this long stem of wire one time around my little loop. And I'm going to bring it down the other side of my bead and wrap it around the stem of the large loop. Now this is my design. You do not have to do it. I'm just doing it because I've got wire, given myself enough wire so that I can kind of play with it. So I'm going to wrap it around my large loop. And there we go. Cinch that in. And what I can do is just wrap that around a second time and be done with it. Or if I don't want to waste any wire, I can kind of wrap up the loop and give myself a little bit of a funnel or a scarf, if you want to call that. That's what Crazy Matt calls it. So now I've just got a little miniature scarf around the neck of my bead. And then I can cut off the excess right in the center of my loop, like so. That, oh, there, it's still on there. Come on, go away. There we go. And then I'm going to push down this tail to the inside of my scarf or my funnel, whatever you want to call it, so that it doesn't grab on anything or scratch anybody or clodge your clothes or your neck. So there I have one link. There. Just kind of a fun thing to do. It's got a little frame around it. Neat, huh? It's a really neat way to just do something different. And it goes with the others. You can do it with, you can do it without. Up to you. Okay, so then I just need to make my link. And this is just a simple link, a simple looped link. And all I need for that, again, I'm keeping it on the spool, but for these little seed beads, the best way to determine how much you need is to go ahead and string your beads on. I'm going to put two of my little beads on. And then give myself a good ½ inch on each side of my bead for my little simple loop. So I'm just going to grab my wire with my pliers, just slide it down about 1/3 of the way, make my little loop, just rotate the pliers, clamp down on the wire, and just keep rotating until I have a nice little loop. There we go. And then because I want the loop, I don't want it leaning over on the side like this. I'm going to go in with my pliers just at the tip. And I'm going to bend back my loop until it's resting on top of my wire. Like that. And there we go. It doesn't want to cooperate because it's on the spool and the spool is heavy. Come on, turn around. Here we go. Oh my gosh. So there it is. Looks like a little lollipop. Okay, so let me get my beads, slide them back up. And again, you give yourself about a half, all you really need is 3/8 to a half an inch to make this little loop. And I just eyeball it because I've done it like a billion times. Snap that off, make my other little loop. Again, I'm going about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, grab the tip. I always check to make sure none of the wire is sticking out from between my pliers. And then I just rotate, open my pliers up, rotate back and clamp back down, rotate again, open up, rotate back, clamp, and keep going until I have a nice closed loop. And again, I want my loop to be directly above my bead, so I'm going to go in with the tip of my pliers and clamp down and bend my loop back until it's straight up and down, like so. And I want both of my loops to be going in the same direction. If they're not, just grasp onto them with your pliers and twist until they're both going the same way. So now it's time to attach. I'm going to open up my loop. I'm just going to see how it's going. It's flat. I'm just going to flip the end up to open. Slide the loop, small loop in the small loop on this side. Close it back up. Make sure the ends are meeting the stem of the wire so it's nicely closed. Then take the other side and do the same thing. Flip that up and attach that to the rest of my chain. So one side will be attached to the large loop, the other side will attach to the small loop, and there's my link. Neat, huh? Isn't that neat? I love it. So now I want to finish it up. I need to make 2 more of these. I need to make 1 more of these, actually, 1 more of these beads, and then I'm going to do the clasp. So I'm going to show you, let's make 1 more of these little links. Put a couple of jump rings on. A couple of seed beads on. Make my loop. Again, sliding down the wire down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, grasp the end of the wire and twist until I have my loop. There we go. Take the tip of my pliers and bend that loop back until it's nice and straight on top of my wire, like so. Slide my beads up, cut my wire off down to about 1/2 to 3/8 of an inch. And that is relative, really. It depends on how big you want your loop to be. I know my loop is going, my wire is going about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, and that 1/2 an inch is more than enough, or 3/8 of an inch is plenty to make my loop. So you just have to work with it until you see what works for the pliers that you have and the size loop that you make. So there we are, got my loop. Let's close that up nice and tight. There we go. Turn that so both of my loops are going the same direction. Nice, yes. Okay, let's go ahead and attach that. Oh, you know what? I didn't need another one. I already have enough, I think. I have to do one more of those, and that's going to go there. Yeah, I do need one. I do need one more. So let's attach that. Close it up. And now I'm going to show you how to do one of these links without the fancy wire, because you don't have to put the fancy wire on it. If you don't want, you can just keep it and let the bead speak for itself. So let's do that. And for that, again, I still would give myself at least 3.5 inches just to be safe. So I'm going to put my bead on, grab my pencil, and leave about 1 inch. You might need to cut some off since you aren't going to do anything fancy with it, but you're better off giving yourself some extra and having plenty than not having enough. That's my motto. More is better than not enough. Okay, I've got my little loop, put my little beads on. And I give myself 2 beads because, and I didn't do that with this one. I should have. You can attach this anywhere you want, but I like to, I'm going to take this off and show you. I like to attach it so that one of my beads is on each side of my loop. That's just a design choice. It's not something that you have to do. You can let it fall any way you want, but then when I do that, it falls, they both fall on either side of my loop, and I like that. I like the look. Okay. Get my beads on there. I need it to settle inside my loop. So put my 2 beads in my loop. Grab my pliers. Hold on to the wire right there where the wires meet. And bend down the long tail of wire so it looks like a little lollipop up here. As close to center as you can get it. There we go. Come on, cooperate with me. And because I'm not going to do any wraps with this little tail, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around my stem. Just going to give it 2 wraps. And then I can just clip off that end. That little tail, I'm going to hold on to it so it doesn't fly in my face or across the room or anything like that. I'm going to clamp down that little end there so that it doesn't scratch or catch on anything. I'm going to bring my bead up. And I'm going to give myself, again, just like we did with our little small link, I'm going to give myself about ½ an inch. Get that straightened out there. ½ an inch for my little loop, and then enough to wrap. And that's going to be, I'm going to give myself a good inch for that. That's why I said you should have at least 3½ inches if you're going to cut your wire into pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a good 1.25 inches. That should be plenty. And I'm just eyeballing it. And again, I'm going to make my loop, this big loop is going this way. My other loop is going to go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to bend my wire back until it's going over, like it would go through the loop if it could. Grab my round nose pliers, go down about 1/3 of the way down my wire. Wrap my loop, my wire over the top of my pliers, and it's going to stop there because it can't go any further, and just bring it around to the side and under my pliers and over my bead until I have a little loop there, just like that. Then I'm going to continue to wrap. You can either leave the pliers in there and wrap, or you can take them out, grab your square pliers and hold the side. Now, the reason I say grab the square pliers to hold it, because if you use your round pliers and you're squeezing, there's a very good possibility that you'll put an indentation in your wire, and you don't want that. So either keep your round nose pliers on the inside and wrap, or use your flat square pliers to hold your loop. I'm going to wrap that around the base of my wire here, the stem. And I only need 2 wraps. That is plenty. When it gets too short that you can't use your fingers anymore, grab a second pair of pliers, in this case my round nose, and wrap it the rest of the way. And again, you only need 2 wraps. So I am good. No, I can't wrap anymore. Just going to push down that tail until it rests against the other wires and won't snag on anything. There we go. Now I'm going to check. My wire got a little bit twisted so that both of the loops look like they're going almost the same direction. And that is an easy fix. This is 20 gauge. It's very malleable. All I need to do is give it a twist so that they're going in opposite directions. So now you can just see the outside of the large loop, and the small loop is flat. If I turn it the other way, the large loop is flat and the small loop is going the other direction. Like so. Yeah, there we go. So let's just attach that. Okay. And this loop is going to be on the end. So it's going to be what my hook connects into. So I want to make sure that the big loop is on the outside. So again, I'm going to grab my little simple loop on my connector. I'm going to flip that end up, attach it to the small end of my bead, and push the end back down until my loop is complete again. And now at this point, you want to measure, see where you are. I'm almost there. I'm almost finished, as you can see. So now I'm going to make a clasp, and I want my clasp to look like the rest of my bracelet. I want it to be a part of my bracelet. So what I'm going to do is make a little hook with my bead on it. And in order to do that, I need about an inch of wire. Let's measure, just so we know. You can use 3/4 to an inch of wire. It depends on how long you want your little hook to be. So I'm going to give myself an inch. And I'm going to bend my wire until the two pieces are side by side. So now I have a long tail and a short one. And I'm going to take my flat pliers, my square pliers, and I'm going to squeeze those ends together. Just kind of close it up. Like so. And now I'm going to go down here to the bottom, give myself about 3/8 of an inch. Up here, I should have a good 3/4 of an inch of wire. And go down here to the bottom. I have about 3/8 of an inch down here. I'm going to grab my other pliers, or you can just use your fingers and bend that wire up like so. And then I'm going to wrap it around the other wire. And this is 20 gauge. It's very, very easy to manipulate. But if you don't really have strong fingers, you can use your pliers to do it. I'm using the pliers so that you can see what I'm doing. If I use my fingers, kind of obscures your vision. So I'm just giving it one little wrap around. Like so. And then that little tail that's on there, I'm going to push it down into the wire so that it won't catch on anything. Now, what I like to do is make sure that this end is underneath and in between the two wires. So I don't want it to stick out on the side. So let me lift that up a little bit and cut some of that off. You only need one good wrap. The rest of it is excess. It can be trimmed. Let's see if I can grab that. Okay, I'm going to turn that down so that it doesn't fly away. There we go. And push that little nub down. And this is going to be my underside. So I want these two wires side by side. And then you can either use your pliers and go to the very back, or you can use your pencil. It's entirely up to you which way you want to go with this. And you can make a nice loop. Just bring that down. I think I'm going to use my pliers. Just go all the way to the back. I already got it started with my pencil. Go all the way to the back and bring the end down. Just make a nice loop. Like so. And that's my little hook. And then I want to make it a little more decorative. So I'm going to bring the base of it back a little bit, like so. And then squeeze it down the rest of the way. Nice and snug. And then I'm going to take the tip of my pliers and I'm going to go down here to the very bottom here where the curve is. And I'm just going to give it a little curve up. You can use your round nose pliers or your flat pliers for this. This right there at the tip. I'm going to curve it up like so. There's my hook. Give that a little bit more of a uptick. There we go. So then I'm going to straighten out there. I'm going to bring my bead up and just make a loop on the other side. And now this loop is dependent on how much more wire you need. You can make a nice big loop or a medium-sized loop or a small loop. Mine is almost big enough, so I don't need a huge loop. I do need a little bit. So I'm going to give myself a loop that kind of matches the others just because I want to be consistent. So I'm going to go to my pencil, excuse me. I'm going to make my little loop. And on this one, I don't, well, you can put beads in there if you want. You don't have to, but you can. Do I want to put beads in or don't I? Yeah, may as well continue the process. So in order to get my beads in, I have to cut it off. So I'm going to cut it off and give myself a good 1.5 inches. For the hook itself, it's going to take a good 3.5 inches. 3.5 to 4. And it depends on what size loop you make. This loop is probably a good 3/4 inch, and then half for this, so that's 1 1/4, and then another 2 inches for that. So that's 3 1/4, and then you have to wrap it. So give yourself about 4 inches. Okay, let me put my beads on. And again, you want to err on the side of too much versus too little. Too little means you have to start over. Too much means you just cut some off. I can live with cutting some off. Put my 2 beads on. And let's do my wrap. Now, I'm going to look at this because this is pretty big. And I need to decide on whether or not I want to make my loop smaller, because this little clasp is adding a good a little over an inch, and I might not need over an inch. Something's poking me over here. So what I'm going to do in order to make my loop smaller is simply pull it a little closed. That's all. Just make it smaller. Just squeeze it until it's a little smaller, and I can use my pliers and roll it down like so. Round it out. And there we are. Now I've just got a slightly smaller loop. Bend it back until I have the same shape as the others. And just work with it until I have the shape I want. Here we go. Bring that down a little bit more. There. So it's a little bit smaller, not quite as big as the others. A little bit smaller than the others, and it won't be too big on my wrist. So now it's time for me to wrap. So I'm just going to grab my pliers again, slide those beads out of my way, and wrap. And you can decide whether or not you want to do the same kind of decorative wrap that wraps up the face of the bead, or you can just wrap right around the stem. Your choice. I'm going to wrap around the stem. So now I have a little cap on top of my bead. And the fun part about these beads is that they really are drilled, not specifically. It's kind of, you can see it's kind of drilled off to the side. And I think that's what makes, that's the beauty of this kind of bead, is because it's not perfectly centered. So now I'm going to cut this tail off because I don't need it. Holding on to that end so it doesn't fly away from me. And push down the tail so that it doesn't catch on anything. And let's attach. Attach it to my little connector here. Close it up. And there it is. There's my bracelet. And what's really neat about this, I just so you know, I like to squeeze this so that it's not too far apart, so that I don't have to worry about it coming in a loose. And one of the good things about having this wrap down here is that it helps stop your loop from coming out. And also, because it's so close to the bead, that will also keep it from coming out too easily. It just snaps right into place. And comes off when you take it off. Okay, should I try it on? I've got this other one on. Try it on this arm. Ah, there it is. Isn't that pretty? And isn't that neat to have a clasp that actually fits in with the rest of the bracelet? You don't even see it. There's my clasp. Can't really tell, huh? Ah, it's so neat. So easy, so simple to make, and just so pretty. All you need is your wire one kind of wire, one size, 20 gauge wire or 22 or 18. I wouldn't go higher in gauge than 22 because you want it to hold its shape. And 18 is about as strong as you need to go. It doesn't have to be that strong. These beads aren't that heavy. So that's a design choice. So 18, 20, 22 gauge wire, pick one of those. Whatever kind of beads you want to use. And I like the little seed beads as an embellishment. One of the reasons I used seed beads, I tried other beads and they just, the holes are big enough. They aren't drilled big enough to go around this little circle. So seed beads work. And I love the way the seed beads play around the sides of my loop. I think it just makes it, it just gives it that little bit of extra. See, in this one, I didn't even put the beads on either side. So you can do either. You can put them on one side or the other side. You can put them on both sides. You can do some of each. It just gives it a little bit of, I'd say sparkle. Sparkle's probably not the right word. It's just a fun, playful thing. There we go. There it is. That's my bracelet, and I could not be happier. I'm going to do something similar with some other shell beads for a necklace. I think this would be so pretty and in something long. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous chain. I am rolling this because I want you to see. Guess where the hook is? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Can't even tell. Loving it. Anyway, so that is our tutorial for the day. I couldn't be happier. I am absolutely loving my bracelet. Oh, and it goes with what I'm wearing. That is a happy accident. What do you think of that? I think it's gorgeous. Bringing out more shells next time too. We're going to do a necklace, and it's going to be a nice necklace that is going to fit in your collar, the color of your shirt, around your t-shirt. You can wear it with anything you want. It's not too long. It's not up to the neck. It's just right in between. Probably going to be about 16 inches, 16, 18 inches, something like that. And that's going to be next, because I am looking out at the most beautiful sunshine, and I need to take advantage of these warm days and use some of my shells and lighter weight things in order for us to wear them and look springy and summery and happy. Anyway, I could chatter on and on and on, but I won't, because that would be boring. But until then, please, 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 I say this every time, and I love to hear from you when I do. So please, if you get a chance, drop me a comment on the library Facebook page. It's DeKalb County Library in Decatur, in Georgia. It's Decatur and Atlanta, Georgia. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you want, you can send me a comment on my email, which is jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That 20 is from 2020, when we started doing these videos because of COVID, and we had to shut down all of our in-person classes. So that's what started this all. That's why my Gmail that I have for this is jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. Drop me a line, show me some pictures, show me your creativity. I'd love to see it. Or you can put it in the comment section of the library Facebook page. You'll be able to see where they have the links to the tutorials, and you can put your comments there. Love to hear from you. Let us know what you think, whether you like it or not. If there's something that you didn't understand, please feel free to send me a question. I'd love to answer them. But until next time, have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. See you later.